Ridiculously huge games are the next big trend in gaming. Kind of like how Battle Royale is sweeping the 2018 market of games, the next big trend will be what I'm calling super games. 2019 and beyond will be dominated by games with massively epic scale and depth. These are games that will evolve their genres by magnifying the scope of what's possible in player numbers, world size, depth, and detail. Take just about any game you enjoy playing and think, how can we multiply this game by a factor of 10? What would that look like, and would it make it better? Obviously, this is not a universal formula for success, but many games can and will benefit from a supersized upgrade. We're currently passing an evolutionary hurdle in server and game technology that is allowing us to harness the power of multi-server environments and engines built on procedural technology, allowing for the creation and rendering of massively large and complex systems in real time. Take a look at the game Mavericks Proving Grounds that was just teased a bit at E3. The game is boasting a 1,000 player count battle royale that will also run at a very high frame rate. They achieved this through something called Spatial OS technology, which allows a multi-server environment to handle the majority of the complex systems and only relay the immediately necessary information back to each client-side PC. This means that I can play in a world with 1,000 players, but my computer only has to calculate and render those that are in my immediate proximity. And Mavericks doesn't really evolve the Battle Royale genre in any other super meaningful way, at least not at the conceptual level, but just by increasing the scale of things by literally a factor of 10 in this case, the breadth of the game has been increased substantially. Does a much bigger player count help? Well, only time will tell with Mavericks, but the idea of being in an even bigger battle with seemingly endless enemies and challenges does certainly excite me as a gamer. Another one of these super games that's in the works is Star Citizen, taking what could be otherwise seen as a traditional space sim and multiplying the scope and depth by a nearly infinite factor. Sure, we already have massive space sims like EVE Online and Elite Dangerous, but Star Citizen is multiplying those concepts in virtually every way. Full-scale procedural planets with every biome possible, seamless planetary landings, massive fleet battles, richly detailed and functional ship interiors, land claiming, base building, space station building, deep character, and ship customization. Again, they achieve this using their own multi-server technology. Star Citizen is able to render planet-sized objects and battles being fought both on the surface of a planet and in space. And obviously, Star Citizen is not the only AAA level game in the works with massive scale. At E3 this year, they revealed other games like Cyberpunk 2077 to Halo Infinite. Both games seem set on creating worlds and environments that purely boggle the mind with their depth and detail. Competition between developers is at an all-time high right now, and I think most publishers are asking, how can we offer more? Inventing a runaway hit genre like Battle Royale is difficult and completely unpredictable, so why not let indie devs handle that and let the bigger publishers take the existing concepts and just make them bigger and better in every way? Competition seems to demand it, and if this year's E3 lineup was anything to go by, then it should yield some very impressive results. I even think that we can use this new trend to predict what's coming from titles that have yet to supersize themselves. Imagine what Battlefield could become if they integrated their own multi-server tech. 64 players is fun and impressive, but what about maps 10 to 20 times the size with up to 1,000 players? The inevitable D-Day invasion map we'll see in Battlefield 5 wouldn't have to have 32 players storming a beach, but maybe 500 players over a mile of beachfront. Would this make the game better? It's really hard to say, but just thinking about it does get me excited. With developers catching up quickly to what Battlefield can offer in terms of its vehicles and player counts and graphical fidelity, it seems like it might be the next logical step to supersize the game to stay ahead of their competition. Simulating realistic World War II battles could look even more authentic and real. Currently, they do a lot of artillery strikes in the background of maps, showing a lot of AI airplanes dogfighting off in the distance. What if those were all actual players? What if the massive scale of these battles and maps was actually massive? That could take Battlefield into a whole nother realm of excitement and intensity. Now, of course, taking an existing genre and just supersizing it doesn't always work, and the idea of supersizing Battlefield might terrify you. It's much easier to balance a smaller scale game. I've seen battles in games like PlanetSide 2 turn into pure chaos and spam because of the huge player counts. There are obviously downsides when done incorrectly, so supersizing with care will always be needed. Massive Action Game, aka MAG, with its 250 player count, probably did a better job of this, but nonetheless, we do have some games that have already tested large player counts that future developers can learn from, even if it's learning what not to do. Now, even though I indicated earlier that generally pioneering new genres is for indie developers, it doesn't mean that supersizing is only for AAA developers. Technology like Spatial OS is readily available for indie devs and can be used for things beyond just increasing player counts. The game Scavengers is incorporating AI armies into a co-op survival game. Before, you might have had to play against only a small squad of enemies. Now you have potentially hundreds of AI enemies making smart decisions and hunting you down. Imagine any typical game where you're up against AI. Now magnify the AI capabilities, which would use more computational power, and the number of AI. This can all be handled on multi-server or Spatial OS technology and not impact the client side very much at all. So now you can fight armies, whether it's armies of zombies, armies of intelligent AI, fast-moving AI, armies that work together with different units for different tasks. I mean, the possibilities are endless when thinking about fighting against AI opponents. Now, another example is a little indie game called Seed, which is basically building a planetary colonization sim using Spatial OS to create a continuously running sim. Managing characters and creating routines within your colonies will allow them to progress on their own organically, something that may have been impossible to do on the scale Seed is aiming for without the use of Spatial OS. So this could also be a form of supersizing, taking sims to the next level of depth and detail, or scale. The game Lazarus is a top-down space sim with a dev team of only 4 people, able to create a persistent MMO universe on a scale as big as any other massively multiplayer game, using Spatial OS and Unity technology. Pretty impressive, and it gives you an idea that not all games need millions of dollars in map design and assets to be massive. Simple concepts with enough computer power can become giant supersized games. A planet-based tower defense strategy game called Vanishing Stars built a fun demo for their game, but were limited by how far they could push their planetary conquering concept. Multi-server tech is now allowing them to realize their dreams of a galaxy-wide strategy game allowing for PvE and PvP on a scale never before possible. And these are all just examples of what's possible with the new level of technology. I can only imagine what will be possible in the next few years, or what developers are currently working on that they haven't even told us about yet. The technology really does seem nearly limitless, and virtually every genre could be affected by it. Battle royales, team-based shooters, massive space sims, strategy games, and most certainly role-playing games. The size of the world, the number of players, the depth and detail of the simulations, the quality and quantity of AI opponents can all improve drastically. It's a really cool and exciting concept, and it hasn't existed before because, I mean, honestly, it's very relevant on having user technology being good, good client-side PCs or console systems, fast internet connections to support multi-server tech, and frankly, just developing the multi-server tech itself to run well on game engines. We're finally at the moment where all this technology is at the level where it needs to be, where it can all come together, and we can start to create these super games, whether the super games are on small indie scale or on big AAA scale. I am pumped for what the future holds for gaming. What do you guys think about this? You think I'm right with these super game concepts going to be the future of what we're playing? Or is it just going to be reserved for more specialized game concepts? And most of what we play will kind of stick to smaller scale concepts. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.